name is Christine Inman, and I'm an addict, but that sounds like an NA meeting. I'm 37 years old. I was born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I grew up in North Kildonan, and I have an older sister and younger brother. They always say the middle child's a wild child, and I have 4 amazing kids with 2 different fathers. My parents divorced when I was 6 months old. I'm like thinking, how colicky was I? I grew up on a cabin, and I was blessed with both my parents having a cottage. My dad's cabin was in Lactabani, and my mom's and stepdad's is in the White Shell. I love quadding, fishing, boating, snowmobiling, and campfires. I used to play soccer and was in gymnastics and swimming lessons. I was a tomboy, and I detailed cars in my dad's shop. I used to go to church with my mom and stepdad and siblings. I don't remember much of Sunday school though. My life turned for the worse at age 14 when my innocence was abruptly taken from me. I didn't know how to cope or function after that. I started to self-harm myself with cutting my wrists and my legs. And I got so depressed, it was the only thing that made me feel alive. My parents tried to get me help, and I was put on an antidepressant. The antidepressant made me suicidal, and to the point I waited for my dad to leave the house, and I took a bottle of sleeping pills. And I went to sleep. I woke up in the hospital with my dad by my side. I was in a coma for 4 days and on life support. I spent most of grade 9 in the psych ward. 14 is way too young to end your life. It hit me hard when my oldest turned 14 to think what I put my parents through, and my stepdad. I started drinking, using marijuana, and smoking at age 14. Eventually, at 17, I tried my first line of cocaine. I could focus, I wasn't shy anymore, and I was so outgoing. It gave me confidence that I never had before. I started working 2 jobs and racking up all my credit cards to support my $100-a-day habit. At 19, I met Dean. Dean was 20 years older than me and had a business and lots of money. My $100-a-day habit quickly turned into $500 a day, which he was paying for. I left both my jobs and moved in with him. He had a 6-year-old daughter who came to live with us, and I got sober to take care of her. I ended up working at her school for the Lewis 3L School Division and helping with his business. It got to be a bit too much for me, and I ended up leaving him shortly after I met Maddie's dad. I got pregnant right away and managed to stay sober. I love being a mom. I wasn't with Morgan long, maybe a year and a half. Then I met my ex-fiance, who was extremely good to Maddie and an awesome dad to his daughter. Once again, something didn't feel right, so I left him too. And then I met Gary. I've always had trouble making and keeping friends. I'm shy, socially awkward, and kind of a black sheep. I'm inappropriate and I have a twisted sense of humor, so considering I really had no friends, when I leave a relationship, I jump right into another one. Gary felt different. I felt madly in love with him. He was my best friend. We did everything together. He was good to Maddie. I for sure thought this was the one for me. He was everything I ever wanted, until it wasn't. We bonded over our trauma, and I felt I could fix him. He had a bad temper. He drank too much. He played mind games. He gaslighted me. He cheated on me. Tried to control me. He hacked my Facebook accounts. He cut my hair in my sleep. He threw my dentures out. I was 6 years sober off cocaine when I met him. until his mom gave me my first Percocet. I thought they were like T3s. I did everything for this woman, her laundry, her cooking, her cleaning, her shopping, and she would throw pills at me. I couldn't figure out why I was getting sick so much until I realized I was dope sick without them. I was sometimes taking over 20 Percocets a day. My mother-in-law became my drug dealer. I couldn't get sober because she was part of my family now, and she guilt-tripped me into helping her. I felt like a dog, shake a paw, get a treat, but I couldn't leave Gary because he would get the kids. And I wasn't sober. It was like a catch-22. I felt stuck. Eventually, I went on Suboxone and still kept taking Percocets, and then hydromorphine for my doctor. I had to see several doctors and specialists because my body started to feel different. I had numbness and tingling in my feet and hands. They thought I had MS, lupus, until I got diagnosed with Raynaud's disease and fibromyalgia. Gary's mom passed away, and this sounds horrible, but I thought finally I will get sober again. This woman was the most toxic person I've ever met in my life. She passed away, and I'm thinking my tolerance is so high I can't afford $15 a pill at this point. I go back to cocaine. And that time I was with Gary. My cousin Matt overdosed, my cousin Mike overdosed, my cousin Tyler was the first homicide of 2017. Then his mom, she overdosed, and then his sister. Then 6 months later, my longest childhood best friend overdosed. By now I've had enough. I don't care anymore. I'm now 36 years old, and cocaine was getting too expensive. Gary was doing weird things to me in my sleep, and I tried meth for the first time. Well, the first time actually I tried meth, Gary and his brother laced my joint with it and ended up in the hospital. My life really went downhill after that, and my best friend died. I talked to him all the time. His parents had a cabin on the same road as my mom's. And so I knew him my whole life. How do you live without somebody you've known your entire life? Someone you grew up with, who was there for you when nobody else was, who would never judge you. He was my person. When he wouldn't hear from me, he would ask my mom and stepdad and my brother how I was doing. I knew when I didn't hear from him, something wasn't right. And when I got that call from my mom, I had to scream in a pillow so my kids couldn't hear me. My life couldn't get any worse, or so I thought. I wasn't allowed to see my oldest Maddie because I couldn't pass the drug test, and I started to use more to numb the pain. I started taking off in the middle of the night to meet my drug dealer, for Gary and the kids to wake up wondering where I was. I stopped eating or drinking. I'd be up for days, sleep for days, up for days. I was going in and out of psychosis. Then Gary called the cops on me, and I got handcuffed and brought to the hospital. I'd get out and go back to using. He would call again, and I'd be back handcuffed and back in the hospital. The cops said we can't keep coming back here. The last time I got cuffed, I was so mouthy to the cops. I'm just beyond grateful I didn't get arrested. I don't even have a speeding or parking ticket. My parents knew just how bad my addiction was getting. I had a seizure. I lost my license for a year. My mom and aunt were talking to my aunt's best friends, whose son died from an overdose, and got a hold of Mary Ann Lewis, who got me into Charis Centre. I will never forget that phone call from my sister after I left the psych ward with my drug dealer. My sister called and she asked me if I would go to treatment. It's a 12-month program, and I said absolutely. When I came to the Charis, I didn't believe in God. I just knew I was going to die. The way my family looked at me with tears in their eyes, I knew my time was almost up. I had a few temper tantrums when I got here, to say the least, but I'm a totally different person standing here today. I grew in my faith here. I read my Bible every day. I pray twice today. I'm at peace, I'm level-headed, and I'm a lot calmer. From the grace of God, I'm alive, and I'm standing here today. Amen. I'm sober today, and I never worked so hard at anything in my entire life. People always say they will die for their kids, but that's the easiest thing you can do. How about you live for them, heal for them, get better for them, do it for your kids. Do it for your kids, and so you can do it for yourself. I never thought I'd get sober. I was abused by multiple people in every way you can be abused, and I got sober. And this is my first time in rehab, and to be this successful for the first time is like 2%. I don't get cocky in my recovery. I've had many temptations since being here, and I choose life. I'm worth it, you're worth it. Take one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute if you have to. When you want to leave, take a nap, and I've napped a lot. This isn't forever. It's just a season of your life to get your life back. Trust in God, read your Bible, pray, ask for help, talk about your feelings. I just want to thank all the staff at the Charis Centre for putting up with me, even on my hard days. And for Marlene and Darlene getting me out of bed or trying to get me out of bed when I had a pity party. For my parents and stepdad and family, for my siblings, for all their support and help with my kids. For the staff at FLC, for my church family and Keely, and for all my friends here, you know who you are, and all the residents. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all for being part of my healing journey. Thank you for being here today. I couldn't do this without you. God bless.